Welcome to the HR Empowerment Podcast, where we will uncover strategies and new insights from HR professionals who discuss up-to-date regulations, best practices, and the most pressing topics like diversity and equity, leadership, dealing with difficult situations, and much more that affect your bottom line and business. Thanks for joining us.
Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Wendy Sellers, the HR lady, with my co-host JC. Hey JC.
Wendy, it's a pleasure to see you high and dry and comfy after all the stuff that you've been through. Maybe I'm referencing sweating it out, working so hard for Aurora Training Advantage. I don't know. How you been, Wendy?
Yeah, I think you're referencing that, maybe a little bit of my hot flash menopause stuff, and then also hurricanes and tornadoes that whipped through Florida, where I'm from, and a good part of the country and are still headed your way up to upstate New York.
Yeah, a lot going on. A lot going on for sure for everybody around the world. But we are going to switch gears here into a little bit more positivity and talk about unlocking individual employee creativity and developing a creativity culture at work with our very special guest, Roger Firestein. How you doing there?
Doing terrific. How are you? Glad to be here.
I am doing well. We are doing well. Hey, listen, I just love your website, and I love just the topics of, being a creative problem solver, an innovation consultant. I mean, geez, you could change the world.
Well, that's what we're working to do. One person at a time, one company at a time. Absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, what you do, and how you got to where you are now.
Well, originally I grew up in Colorado. I moved out to Buffalo, New York in the 1970s to study creativity and innovation at a place called Buffalo State University, because it's the only place in the world where you could get a Master of Science degree in creativity studies. I got my master's there. I believe I was the seventh person to get the degree there. Started teaching there in 1984, have a doctorate in organizational communication and a master's in creativity studies or creativity and change leadership. Written now 7 books on the topic of creativity, a little over 100 professional articles. I've worked with over 600 organizations internationally, teaching their people to become more creative. And I've just released a 9-part series on innovation on the Open Sesame e-learning platform. So, I just keep going. It's just, this is my passion. This is my life. And I'm also doing a lot of work with creativity in medical education. And so we're actually teaching medical students how to solve problems more creatively, and particularly how to ask creative questions to improve diagnosis and also to improve the whole operations of their healthcare system that they're in.
Wow, that is amazing and so needed. So on behalf of everybody, thank you for that. And, it really does sound like you've trained more people to lead the creative process than anyone else in the world.
That's what it seems like.
That is so amazing. Well, let's jump in a little bit to, talking about unlocking creativity and the key strategies from Create in a Flash. Tell us about that.
Well, Create in a Flash is my 6th book. It's called Create in a Flash, A Leader's Recipe for Breakthrough Innovation. And in that book, what I did was I packed about 40 years of the work that I've done in the field of creativity into about 120 pages. I believe a book should be creative, and so half of the book is pictures that we use to illustrate the points. But if we want to take a look at some individual ways to enhance creative thinking in everyday situations, about 4 of those come to mind. And first off, the most important thing is to record those ideas whenever and wherever they come to you. I'm sure that in many cases, many of our listeners here have had the occasion where they thought of an idea. It was a great idea. They said, boy, I need to do something like that. They didn't write it down. They didn't record it. And minutes later, that idea is gone. As a matter of fact, my first book, Why Didn't I Think of That?, was actually dictated into a tape recorder at about 3 o'clock in the morning in Washington, D.C. many years ago. And if I wouldn't have that tape recorder with me, that idea wouldn't exist. So 1, record your ideas whenever and wherever they occur to you. The other thing is, oftentimes people run into ruts when they are trying to solve a problem, and they talk to the same people that they've always talked to. Well, one of the best ways to get new ideas is to talk to what we call non-homogeneous groups. In other words, people that aren't in your same field, that aren't in your same part of the company. So if you're in HR, go and talk to somebody in engineering, or go to talk to a scientist, or go to talk to somebody in transportation. Give them your problem, talk about your problem with them. And oftentimes they'll provide some new insights, because the key is the people that you're not working with, that you're not talking with, that are in your circle, don't know what can't be done. And oftentimes that's some of the most important things. If they don't know what can't be done, they're going to propose ideas to you that you might say, well, that's not quite on it, but I can build something from that idea. So one, record your ideas whenever they come to you. Look for people that you don't hang around with usually to come up with some new ideas. Get ideas from them. And here's another one. It's it's don't be a slug. And so what I mean by don't being a slug, a number of years ago, a study was done on highly creative research scientists, and they divided them into 3 groups, and they looked at their reading habits. And one group did no reading at all. Okay, we called them the slugs, okay? The second group read almost exclusively in their fields. And the third group read not only in their fields, but in all sorts of different fields. So they're reading anything from tabloids to science, from comic books to encyclopedias. And when they analyzed the creative output of these folks, they found that the folks that were reading outside of their circle were coming up with more and better ideas than the other folks. Now, the folks that were reading in their circle did some pretty technically good sorts of things. But the people that were reading a whole variety of things from a variety of different fields, those were the people that were coming up with the creative ideas, because they were able to make connections that other folks weren't. And then fourth thing is find out where you get your best ideas, find out where your best ideas are born. And when I ask people, where do you get their best ideas? I would say about 99% of the folks that I talk to don't get their best ideas at work. Because when you're at work, you're in the execution mode, the make it happen mode, the decision-making mode. And so when you step away from work, and when you're maybe driving home, or when you're falling asleep at night, or when you're taking a shower, or when you're exercising, that's the time when new ideas tend to surface. And that's the time to capture those ideas. I also have friends that will just take some time off. One of my favorite things is I call farm therapy. I have a good friend who has a farm about 30 minutes north of here. And when I get stuck, I go out and drive a tractor on my friend's farm or help with cattle. And I have to say that the satisfaction of doing that, of getting something tangible done, really helps me to create some new ideas. So find out where your best ideas are born and go there. And for me, farm therapy works really well.
I love it. Thank you so much. I have so much more to say about this and so many questions to ask. With that said, thanks for listening, everyone, to episode 1 of our 5-part series on unlocking individual employee creativity and developing a creativity culture at work. In our next episode, we will cover even more, and we're going to be talking about solving the real problem. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for joining the HR Empowerment Podcast, brought to you by Aurora Training Advantage. We hope you've gained new insight and strategies to navigate the HR profession. We look forward to you joining us again on the HR Empowerment Podcast.